Hello guys, and welcome to a new Star Division 2 video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you a first look at Sperrverband Kessel, the first of 3 Axis divisions available in the upcoming DLC Blood Feud in Transylvania. As a disclaimer, Eugen has given me free access to the DLC, so a big thanks to them. Also, please remember that this is an early access preview and what you see may be subject to change. If you'd like to read the description on the right hand side, feel free to pause, but we're going to be jumping on in. We're going to be going through all of the units and then we'll put together a quick deck, starting in the Recon tab. So we have the Aufklärer to start. 2-man Recon squad, standard stuff, can be brought in with the Cb33 Cindor available in phase A is quite nice, and that Cb33 can be used as expendable recon. Then we have the BMW 750 Solithen. This thing is just great for countering fast pushes at the start with its own, fast motorcycle able to shoot at enemy transports, but will die pretty quickly to enemy light arms fire. And there's no benefit to really taking these due to their low availability and also the fact you don't even get a radio on them. Then we have the Huttaran Doshek. These guys are 12-man disheartened squads, but they do have recon, so good optics. You get 4 in a card for 15 points in phase A, 8 in B and 12 in C. These could be really nice for supporting infantry pushes in light cover because it will allow you to spot enemy infantry in opposing heavy cover, particularly in forested areas. So great unit to sort of supplement your infantry and pretty cheap as well. Then there's the Brandenburger Pioneer. These guys have 4 MP44s and the smoke there as well. Recon capability, radio capability, pretty decent Aufklärer squad, but generally overpriced for what they actually achieve. Then we're moving on to the infantry tab. We first of all have Ersatztruppen, so more disheartened units. This Sperrverband Kessel is kind of a mix-up of Hungarian and German units, which you've probably figured out by now. But yeah, Ersatztruppen available in A, B, and C. Only 1 card though. Then the Sturm Pioneers. Sturm Pioneers recently got buffed, so 20 points now. 5 in A, 10 in B. Definitely a decent close range option with the 1 vet standard, which can make you easily push them to 3 vet using a commander and a leader. Then we have the Akasok. These guys have 13 men. You've got the submachine gun, you've got the 12 rifles, and you've got your standard HE grenade. You can only bring these in A. You get 6, 4, and 2, depending on the veterancy you want to bring them in. 6 is fine, particularly since their actual weapons themselves aren't that great. Then we have the Hatavidas. These guys have the Irma EMP and the 7 VZ and the Flammenwerfer. For 25 points, it's a 12-man Flamer squad. 5 available in A and 10 available in B. You don't get the free vet that you get on the Sturm Pioneers. So I'm not sure if these are necessarily worth it, but the fact that they're 12-man is really nice and can't be overlooked. Then we have the Hatavidas Leader, which has 2 of the Irma EMP, 9 VZs, and the Madsen automatic rifle. You get 3 on a card, 25 points, 1 vet by standard. Kind of a nice chunky leader squad, but no radio capability, something to bear in mind. Then we have the Hegi Loves. These are your mountain troops. They have 3 submachine guns, the Feg 43M, the Madsen, and Molotovs. So 13-man Molotov squad for 25 points. They are okay because their submachine gun plus the rifles does put out a decent amount of damage. Also, the fact they have an automatic rifle rather than a machine gun means they can use this within 100 meter range. So once that Molotov lands and pushes units out of their entrenchment bonus, these can put down a reasonable amount of damage. The only thing you're kind of lacking is veterancy. So you can't up vet these at all. but it's 9, 8, and 27 in overall availability across the phases. If you put leaders and commanders next to them, you can push them to 2 vet, then I think these will be really strong. Then there's the Hegilovistist. This has 2 EMP and the Fegs. It's a 6-man leader squad, but you only get 2 in A, 4 in B, and 6 in C, so availability is kind of limited, which makes them a lot less desirable than something like the Hatavidas in Phase A. Having only 2 leaders in A is, like, you're never going to double stack leader cards in A, so generally this isn't that good. And otherwise, like, if it was 3 in A, I think these wouldn't be a bad choice at all. Then we got more German units, the Pioneers, standard Pioneers. We've seen these before many times over, but they can be brought in with the SDKFZ 251-1 if you want them to. Otherwise, yep, just standard 25-point HE grenade. Then you got the Panzer Grenadiers, again, pretty standard stuff. The standard Panzer Grenadiers is good for 25 points because it does have like smoke to keep itself alive. 4-man squad with radio capability, like it's pretty standard. Also in this case, they can be brought in with the 251-9 and the 251-10. There's only 2 251-10s available, so you'd have to push this to 2 vet in order to make use of that. And in Phase A, again, only having 2 leaders, not really enough. Next up, we have the ZK. I had to quickly go and check what the pronunciation was for these guys, but I believe that is roughly correct. These are a 12 strength disheartened squad with Molotovs. You get 18 in A, 27 in B, and 36 in C. These will be great for supplementing your standard line infantry and other close range infantry because they're going to be able to drop the Molotov in order to help your other units do more damage. And then they're going to obviously be forced back out of the engagements when they get pinned down themselves because of the disheartened trait. But that's okay because it allows them to reload the Molotov and then you can just chuck them back in again. So I think these could come in really, really handy. Then we have the Brandenburger Führer. Get 2 MP40s, the MP44s, and the AT grenade. You get only 2 available again in Phase A though, and 4 in B, so it's kind of a little bit of a trend here. One of these leader units that you only get 2 in Phase A if you upbet them. But the Brandenburger Pioneer, you can get 5 of these in A and 5 in B for 30 points. These are double flamer squads, so pretty good, and they also have 8 strength total. If you compare that to like the Sturm Pioneer, which only have 6 strength total. So the Brandenburger Pioneer have 6 MP40s and 2 flamethrowers as opposed to 5 MP40s and 1 flamethrower, which is a really, really strong combination of weapons. Then we have the standard Brandenburger. Brandenburger, super strong. They have 2 MG42s and they also have decent close range capability because they have 4 MP40s and the 2 HE grenades. So very, very strong unit overall. The only issue that you find with Brandenburger is availability because you can only get 4 in A, 8 in B, and 12 in C. Yes, you do get them at 2 vet, but still, since these Infantry Tab slots get pretty expensive in activation cost, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to get too many of these in. There is also the option for your standard Panzer Grenadiers. These can be brought in with the SDKFZ 251-1. These have the 2 MG42s. So yeah, standard stuff. And there's also the Panzer Grenadiers with the Panzerfaust. And the difference between the two, obviously one has a Panzerfaust and one doesn't, but one also has slightly less availability. So normal Panzer Grens have 9, 18 and 27 between A, B and C, and then Panzer Grens with Panzerfaust you get 8, 16 and I believe 24 usually, but you can't bring in the Panzer Grens with Panzerfaust in Phase C in this division. Moving on to the tank tab, we have the standard Panzer IV, which you can bring in 4 of in Phase A at least 1 veterancy. If you go to 2 vet, you get 3 of them, so you might as well go 3 vet. Then there's the Stugs. Stugs are available in Phase A, B, and C. These are Stug 3Gs. And again, veterancy is not too expensive on availability with this selection, so probably something you're going to want to take advantage of. And there's the Cb33 G4, which can be brought in phase A at 1 vet. You can get 2 in B at 1 vet and 4 in C at 1 vet. If you're struggling for leaders in other tabs, this may be an option. And then there's a couple of, well, 4 Stug4s in phase A and 8 in B. Only 1 card available, but again, benefit from decent experience curve with availability, so something you might want to look into with the Stug4. The Stug4 is really nice because it gets the extra front armor that is great for dealing with medium tanks at closer ranges. That's the primary use of a Stug4. Then we have, in the support tab, the Cindor. These guys are actually a pretty beastie military police unit. 13 men for 10 points. They're fanatical as well. They put down a lot of DPS at close range. So it looks like this deck is really encouraging you to focus towards the disheartened units. And this definitely gives you a way to do so. You get 4 in A, 6 in B, and 8 in C. So the availability curve, not that great. You're probably just going to want to have them in A, accompany your Molotov infantry and your Recon infantry into combat early on and get an advantage that way. Really nice military police unit, one of the best in the game, I would say. Then there is the 50mm mortars. Unfortunately, if it's not a Soviet 50mm mortar, it kind of sucks because of the lack of range, and the Hungarian mortar is the same in that regard. It lacks the range. Then we have the Cb33 Cindor. This is just the military police standard little machine gun tank. Then we've got the Schwarloser, your machine gun squads for 20 points. Since they come in at 1 vet, you know, they can be pretty good when you get leaders nearby them and start pumping up that vet to 2 or 3 vet. So definitely an option. Then there's the Flam Panzer. You can get 3 of these in phase A, and you can get 6 of them in phase B. Good for running down infantry at close range, but can be caught out quite easily by close range AT because the range on the flamethrower isn't that far. So enemy Panzerfausts, enemy like PTRDs, PTRSs, that kind of thing will take these out. And there's the Brandenburger Mg42 squad. You get 5 in A, 10 in B, 15 in C. Mg42, always a fantastic option. There's the IG-18 available, 4 in A, 8 in B, 12 in C. IGs have kind of fallen out the middle a little bit, just because they're not anywhere near as strong as they used to be when they got their range cut off. And also MGs are just generally pretty reliable at the 1200 meter range, which is only 250 meter range shorter than the IG. So people tend to just go for MGs over IGs. There is also 3 cards of standard MG42s, which you can get as well. They're the same cost as the Brandenburger MG42. They just lose the Raider trait that the Brandenburger MG42 has. Otherwise, basically the same stuff. Then we have the Opal Blitz munition trucks. 3 cards of these available. There's going to be Sturt 42s available in A, B, and C. 2 in A, 4 in B, 8 in C. Great 2000 meter range HE fire support unit. And then we have the commander options. So the Hatavidas Leader, which is just a 4-man infantry squad, good for hiding. You've got the option of a half-track, probably not the best choice at all. And then the option of the Stug, if you want something a bit more tanky. I think most people would generally opt for the infantry in this case. Moving on to the anti-tank tab, we have the Nehezpuska AT rifle. AT rifles have been nerfed in that they don't completely kill an entire squad in a transport when they kill it now. I'm not sure how that's really going to affect like 1v1 play. I think people will still generally bring them. But in this case, the Nehezpuska, you only get 4 of them on a card in Phase A. So I'm not sure that they're going to be as desirable. But we'll see if people start taking them. You do, however, get 2 cards of Panzerschrecks, and Panzerschrecks are always useful. So you can get 4 in A, 8 in B, 12 in C. And yeah, 2 cards of these is actually really generous. Very, very nice indeed. And you can also actually opt to bring them in with these half tracks, which could be a decent choice. Then we have the Panzerbuchse. This is a 28mm Panzerbuchse. 3 damage, not very high. Just good for doing damage over time. I mean, the trouble is these things generally die because they only have 4 strength before they can apply enough damage to whatever they're targeting. Then we have the 40mm AT, much like the 45mm AT guns. These are decent for picking off enemy transports and providing HE fire support. The trouble with the 40mm compared to the 45 though is it does lack the range, so it's only got 1000 meter range as compared to the 1250 meter range of a standard 45mm gun that we see everywhere. And we got the Marder 2s available in Phase A. So this is probably going to allow you to opt for less Stugs and so on in Phase A, and then rely on the Stugs like more in the later game, because you can supplement Marders and Stugs in the anti-tank tab. There's also the Pack 40, 1 card of these available, Phase A, B and C. And there's also a card of the Stug 3 F8s available, 6 of those, or sorry, 4 in Phase A, 8 in Phase B. Similar stats to the tank tab. You just get way more AP shells on the Stug 3 F8. It also has less front armor, so only 70mm of front armor compared to the 90mm of frontal armor that the standard Stug 3G gets. Let's move on to the anti-air tab. So you get the lovely 40mm AA 36M. This is really nice, and it does have those AP shells. 75mm of penetration, can clean up light vehicles pretty fast. 3 in A, 6 in B. Then there's the flak filling available only in Phase A, which is actually a pretty nice option for Phase A, just relatively expensive. Then there's the flak 4188 available. You can get these in Phase A and B, and you can bring them in the multi-munitions if you want an extra way to bring in some more supply. And then there's the SDKZ71, so the flak filling on wheels, which again you can only get in Phase A. So it looks like Phase A generally will be like flak filling, SDKZ71, and then you probably bring in like a card of these 40Ms, 40mm, sorry, and the 88mm. Moving into the artillery tab, we have the Tuzarek. These are your 2-man observer squads. 3 available in A, 6 available in B. If you need extra recon, if you need a radio, these can be an option, but you're generally going to be going for the Battleführer, so you don't waste too many slots on leaders in the infantry tab. Other artillery options are the 75mm. This does not have radio though, so probably not your best option. There is also the 81mm mortars. 3 cards of these available for 8 and 12 availability through A, B and C. Then there's the Vespa. The Vespa in Phase A is actually not a terrible choice, since it does have that radio capability. Kind of becomes a Su-76 in Phase A. Just, you're kind of not getting extra vet for the lower availability, which kind of sucks. Also 2 cards of German 120mm mortars. You get 2 in A, 4 in B, and 8 in C. And then there's also a card of mortar carriers, which is very nice. You can get these in A and B. So a good way to start chipping down enemy support vehicles. Finally, there is 149mm off map. This does get 3 strikes, so pretty strong. 40 shells coming down. It's actually a pretty nice off map, honestly. 160 points though. Off map got more expensive, don't forget. Right, air tab, let's have a look. First thing we have is the 15-point Recon aircraft. I've seen people use these more often recently, where they kind of hover them over their own lines in order to see things that are just slightly beyond line of sight to ground units. So yeah, standard stuff. Also radio capability potentially. There's also the Focke-Wulf 189A2. This doesn't come with any bombs though. Some variants of these do come with like 4 50kg bombs, which can actually be quite nice, specifically in the early game. But this one is not one of those. But 2 available in A, 4 in C, B, and 8 in C. Then there is the Me210 Ca1. This is a very light bomber. 4 50kg bombs for 70 points. Very fast bomber though, 495 km/h speed. I'm not really sure how useful this will be early on, but yeah, it's an option. Then there's the Ju-87D5. Now this is more like it, the twin gun pod Ju-87s. Always good fun. 3 of those in A, 4 in B, and 6 in C. In phase A, these can be really strong before enemy AA really gets going. Then there's the Bf109 G6. These are forced to come in at 2 veterancy. So availability is 2, 4, and 6. And at 590 km/h speed, you're going to want to get like a couple of these, since they only have 120mm, in order to like kill down anything that's bigger than an enemy fighter. You can also, however, get the Bf109 G6u4. And this is a much better fighter because it has 30mm. So this is very strong. 590 km/h speed. It gets within that 600m range and it just blasts things out the sky very, very fast. Nice fighter indeed. Just don't let it get shot at by AA for too long because the resilience is bad. And we have the Ju-88 option. So the Ju-88A4 with the 28 50kg bombs for 115 points. Really not my favourite payload. Can be good for pinning down a large group of units in a pinch, but generally not a unit that I'd like to use. Then there's the Ju-88 with 2 500kg bombs. Definitely a better option in my opinion. Can do a lot more damage. Also availability jumping into phase B is very nice. We go from 1 to 4 availability in phase B. 360 km/h speed bomber with those 2 500kg bombs. So yeah, personally I think this is actually a pretty good option. Finally, there is the Focke-Wulf 190 F8 option, and since you can get 2 of these in phase A, that's actually really nice. 120 points, 1 250kg bomb, 4 50kg bombs. Can allow you to kill off pretty much any support weapon in the early game, other than those like 9 health or like a 10 health plus support weapons. But yeah, anything that's like 7 or less, you're going to be able to one-shot with one of these. And also infantry squads are going to take a lot of damage as well. So this is a pretty nice option for the early game. 2 available in A, 4 in B, and 8 in C. Potentially spammable. Alright, let's go ahead and put together a quick deck. Now I think for this one, I'm probably going to go for some of the disheartened stuff, just to make it interesting. So we'll take the Huttaran Doshek, and we're going to take them in A and B, I think. I will also potentially bring in some Alcala, but we'll come back to the Recon tab, I think. I'm not going to be taking the Ersatztruppen. We will take the Brandenburger Pioneers in A, and I'm also going to be bringing the Zeke in phase A. Then we'll bring potentially some Brandenburg as well. And then I'm thinking a leader would be a good idea. It's just which leader do we bring? I think the Hatavidas. Yeah, I'm thinking the Hatavidas, although I don't have any radio if I do that. Let's maybe do Panzer Grenadiers instead. We're definitely going to be bringing in the Cindor in Phase A for all of this disheartened infantry that I'm bringing. This is a lot of points of infantry for Phase A. But I think after that, it's just like Phase B units. So I'm going to do a Phase B card and a Phase C card of Brandenburger. Those are going to be like my close range / long range units. And then we will supplement them with probably Hegi. So Hegi Loves in Phase B and Phase C will give us loads of extra availability. And I can always top off this tab if I want to. But currently, overall availability seeming pretty good. For the Panzer IVs in Phase A, we're going to be 2-vetting those. I'm going to up-vet Stug 4s in B. We're going to do some more 3-star Stugs in A. And I'm going to do 3-star Stugs in C. For the support tab, we will want MGs. So we'll bring in the Brandenburger Mg42s. I definitely want to use the Sperrverband. Having those early on seems like the best choice, because later on we'll be relying more on aircraft and artillery to break stuff down, and I think the Sperrverband in particular do very well in the early game. For our commander, we'll take the leader infantry, and I'm going to leave the support tab for supply. Then we have the anti-tank tab. So Panzerschreck. We definitely want to have Panzerschrecks, I think, in Phase A and Phase B. We will want Pack 40s. The question is, when do we want Pack 40s? I'm thinking B is the better option. So let's bring them in Phase B. I'm going to up-vet my Marders in A. And I might also up-vet my Stugs in B. A little bit much, I think, in there. Anyway, going to bring in both the Blackvilling units in Phase A. And we'll do this unit in Phase B. Can't remember if the Hansa Lloyd is faster. No. So just the Botond. Carrying those in. Artillery wise, like having 2 of these in A could be interesting, and then we have 4 of these in B, plus the off map in, I think, in B as well, and then leader potentially is a thing, because this is a 3-point card here, so we'd be better off using activation points on Battlefield. And then in the air tab, we want to go for potentially the Ju-88s here. I think I'm going to go Ju-88s in B. We're going to do Focke-Wulfs in A with the Bf109 G6u4s. And now I just need to look at where I want to put my last set of points. Like, it would be better to have some exceptional stealth, very high optics Recon. But I don't know if I can afford to bring it in. Like, it'd be better for me to just put in another Recon, or not Recon, infantry unit, I think. Because in the early game we have like the Cindor, we have the Sikh, and we also have the Huttaran Doshek. So that's all going to be like the early game disheartened stuff going on. Then as you get past that, we get the Hegi Aloves and the Brandenburger. I think we do supply though, right? Because I don't have any other supply otherwise. So we'll have to put Opal Blitz in there. Yeah. I'm not 100% sure that this is going to be how this deck will stay, but that's what I've come up with for now, so that's where we'll leave it. We just name that Sperrverband Kessel. And yeah, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this look at Sperrverband Kessel. It's an interesting division, and I think it's going to be a test to see how truly effective the Hegi and Zeke can be, particularly the Huttaran Doshek as well. All of those disheartened unit combinations, plus extra veterancy and so on, is going to be interesting to watch. And you've got some decent armor, honestly. Yeah, like this seems a relatively solid mid-range deck. Alright, that's it. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.